Okay, we're learning this morning that Prince Harry did not appear in court to face off with the British media, the judge calling his no-show extraordinary, his lawyer blaming the prince's travel and maybe a lack of security arrangements. The Duke of Sussex has 5 pending cases against the tabloids. He's scheduled to testify tomorrow in his lawsuit against the Daily Mirror, the very publication he's accused of hacking into his phone, spying on him. And he will be the first member of the royal family to testify in a courtroom in more than a century. So joining me right now, a royal commentator, Richard Fitzwilliams, and criminal defense attorney, Randy Zellin. Thank you both for being here. Richard, we start with you. What do you expect Prince Harry will actually talk about when it comes to these particular stories? I think, again, it's been a century. We have not heard from a royal family in a courtroom in that long, but he's aired a lot of dirty laundry. Will he air more?
We, of course, don't know specifically, and this is one of the reasons why members of the royal family keep clear of court appearances. The last was in 1891 by a senior member of the royal family. This was Edward VII when Prince of Wales, bar a 2002 appearance by Princess Anne on an issue dealing with one of her dogs. So what could be aired? I mean, what could happen is a ruthless cross-examination by a barrister representing Mirror Group newspapers. There's absolutely no question there's a lot at stake here. Harry has said that it's his life's work to clean up the British media, or words to that effect. There's absolutely no doubt that he's got 4 cases against them, various associated newspapers, and also The Sun and formerly News of the World, and Mirror Group. Now, there's no doubt at all that this is going to be dramatic, and it's going to be something that there'll be international interest in. There's also the possibility that issues dealing with members of the royal family, the way they approach dealings with the press, the fact that the Sussexes believe that the palace colluded with the British media, both the Sussexes and the media are exceptionally hostile to each other, as I think everybody knows.
Right.
To drive them out. So anything could come up, and how well will he stand up in the witness stand? That's the other issue, because all the interviews, for example, he gave about Spare, his memoir, which has been very controversial, all of those didn't involve him being pushed. And will there be something dramatic? The world does wait to find out.
The world is certainly with bated breath waiting, and maybe less interested than Harry might hope. Randy, in terms of the conflict with the paparazzi, what do we know about this alleged hacking of the phone?
Well, certainly we've heard other instances, and it's being treated very seriously and has been treated very seriously. In fact, as I understand it, others have gone to jail. But I think you touched upon a couple of very important points. Number one, in substitute for my caffeine, the fact that after all of the effort that he has made, I'm going to be the one to drain the British tabloid swamp. He's a no-show. I mean, this is just extraordinary. And I also believe that there's far less interest in Prince Harry. There's a disconnect. It's almost like a Shallow Hal moment. What he sees in the mirror and the public's perception, particularly on this side of the pond, appear to be very different. And I don't think that there is that interest and that thrill with Prince Harry that Prince Harry seems to be concerned about. But again, the fact that you don't show up in court, that I think tells us everything that we need to know or not know.
Or not know. We only have a few more seconds. Richard, if you could just talk about the fact that, we've known for a long time that the British tabloids have been vilified. They've been, called to account for some of their tactics, especially as they've spoken about members of the royal family. Who is the bigger villain right now, British tabloids or Prince Harry himself?
Well, of course, we will have to answer that question and we actually see what happens. And as far as him being a no-show is concerned, I mean, this is absolutely extraordinary. The point of security was raised. He has an issue with security. There's a case against the Home Office. But as far as this is concerned, I mean, clearly he must surely show up, and subsequently he will be cross-examined forensically. The way people will judge him, who's the greater villain. Yes, he's conducted a guerrilla war against the royal family. for some time. He and Meghan have caused them enormous embarrassment, and they can't hit back. What will happen now, and will there be extra facts coming to light, not only about the murky behavior of certain tabloids, but also about attitudes that the Sussexes have had? Because remember, Harry has never been placed in the position where he has had to answer difficult questions. He will be now, assuming he shows up, I must assume, otherwise it will be a cause celeb.
Yes, it will. And we're all going to be watching to see if he actually does eventually show up. Richard, Randy, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.